And finally, in a small library in Somaliland's capital, Hargeisa, a cultural movement is shaping the history of the breakaway Somali region. While the self-declared Republic of Somaliland remains unrecognized by most of the world, its people are turning to an unexpected medium to declare their existence, with old cassette tapes, where melodies, memories and voices of the past are leaving a legacy of the future.
In a quiet library in Somaliland's Hargeisa, archivist Hafsa Omar turns to a cassette player. As she presses play, the room is swept into a time warp. In this musical cast from the past, the notes of a Somali lute mingle with a woman's soulful singing. And in a moment, a unique pentatonic melody fills the room. Through her keyboard, Hafsa gently taps into Somaliland's heartbeat. Her work is anything but casual. Since 2021, she has been digitizing a treasure trove of history, a collection of around 14,000 cassette tapes housed in the Hargeisa Cultural Center. The tapes are a record of more than 50 years of Somaliland's cultural and political life. To Hafsa, the sounds in these cassette tapes are like verses of a hymn to be preserved. To Hafsa, the sounds in these cassette tapes are like verses of a hymn to be preserved so that future generations of this land know of its past in the voice of its own people.
People do not, see this, things important. But I see it important because it's holding a whole history of my country. It's holding a whole history of my people, because my people, they never write, they never read. All they do is they talk.
The Somali people have traditionally lived as nomadic shepherds. With barely 30% literacy rate at present, the region's past has been rooted in oral traditions. Somaliland in particular has been a center of music and poetry. These art forms have played a profound role in shaping the region's identity. From the countercultural Somali funk of the 1970s to the rare recordings of everyday conversations, these tapes offer an intimate glimpse into the lives of Somaliland's people. The tapes also have the records of the region's decades-long civil war that led to Somaliland's declaration of independence in 1991. Radio Hargeisa, the region's public broadcaster, has its own archive of over 5,000 reels of recordings dating all the way back to 1943. But the tapes at the Cultural Center reveal something deeper and personal. In the 1970s and 1980s, with tape recorders becoming more accessible, people used them to communicate with family members displaced by conflict. These recordings captured not only regular family updates, but also the vivid accounts of survival during the brutal civil war between 1981 and 1991. The city of Hargeisa itself bore the brunt of this violence. By 1988, 70% of the city was destroyed in fighting between rebels and the military regime of Siad Barre. Even then, the cassette tapes became a medium to share suppressed stories of resilience and resistance.
You find cassettes that has been recorded underground, a group of people who are chewing chat in a session, typical of a group of men, friends, who are talking about politics, and who they cannot say in public what they are saying, but they are against the dictatorship.
Digitizing the archives is no small feat. Fewer than 5,000 tapes have been catalogued. Only 1,100 have been digitized. Hafsa and her team of 4 archivists have a monumental task ahead. At its heart, the work is not just the preservation of Somaliland's past, but a declaration of its existence.
This is just a proof to disprove those who say that Somaliland doesn't exist, because it shows that it exists. And putting these blocks together and making, the history is made by the people who were witnessing. The failure is that when we don't document, someone else creates another narrative. So this is to give the real narrative for this society, for these people, and it is becoming fundamental for the young generation who doesn't know anything about it.
In a world that often overlooks Somaliland, Hafsa and her team ensure their history is not forgotten. In this library, every digitized note, word and melody is a step towards ensuring that Somaliland's stories endure the test of time. Because when melody becomes memory, memory becomes history.